I ain't got no television show. Why? Because you scared of me. Scared I'm going to say something.
Know the real Berniemac stories, and I know that the people that made money off Berniemac didn't like him. They hated his guts. And that was our king.
Put your goddamn hands together and show your love for the one and only Berniemac.
He was very passionate about his work. You know, I believe they probably worked him to death.
Because you shit on Bernie. And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? And now that he gone, you gonna act like he wanted to be a movie star. You stop it. You stop it. That man was funnier than all of y'all, and y'all thought y'all had one over on him. So right when Bernie had proven his point, and right when Bernie showed everybody who he actually was, and curtain scene.
So, Berniemac is no doubt a legendary comedian, pioneer in the industry, and all-around icon. You'd think a guy like him, with all his success and fame, had it pretty smooth, right? Well, think again. Turns out Bernie's story is far from your typical Hollywood fairy tale. Recent revelations suggest that there might have been some major industry players pulling strings behind the scenes, and the drama is next level. We're talking power struggles, resentment, and manipulation that could give even the juiciest tabloid headlines a run for their money. But thank goodness for comedians who aren't afraid to call out this unfairness and shine a light on how messed up Hollywood can be. Renowned for his groundbreaking television series, The Berniemac Show, and his pivotal role in the historic Kings of Comedy tour, immortalized in a film directed by Spike Lee, Berniemac stood as a titan among his peers. However, his ascent to stardom was marred by challenges. It's a reminder of just how selective fame can be in Tinseltown.
In the dude deck VCR. Any question?
Can we touch?
No, you can't touch nothing.
Born and raised in Chicago, Berniemac's early life was marked by hardship and loss. Raised by his single mother and grandparents, he endured the devastating loss of his mother to cancer during his high school years, an event that left him shattered. Recounting the moment he learned of his mother's illness, Mac revealed the profound emotional toll it exacted.
Oh, you know, when you think about something that used to be, and something that's really close and dear to you, there's no shame about that.
Well, you talk about, you saw your mother naked by accident, as we all do. You said you realized she had breast cancer or something was wrong because she had a big scar on her chest.
And if that wasn't enough, he also dealt with the loss of his older brother and estranged father. Through his 20s and early 30s, Bernie hustled like nobody's business, taking on all sorts of odd jobs, including janitor, coach, professional mover, cook, bus driver, Wonder Bread delivery man, furniture mover, and UPS agent, all while honing his comedic craft during weekend performances at clubs and gatherings. But even with all that struggle, his toughest battle was yet to come, the challenges he faced in Hollywood that eventually led to his untimely passing. For instance, Katt Williams spilled some serious tea during a chat with Vlad TV, diving deep into the roller coaster life of Berniemac. According to Williams, those big shots in Hollywood who were raking in the cash from Bernie's success actually had some major beef with him.
Now, I know the real Berniemac stories, and I know that the people that made money off Berniemac didn't like him. They hated his gut.
While Bernie seemed like this comedy colossus, his journey was anything but a fairy tale. Williams dropped some bombshell allegations hinting at a shady conspiracy, painting Berniemac as a victim of Hollywood's greed, with the bigwigs supposedly cashing in on his talent while secretly despising him. As Williams peeled back the layers of this saga, he suggested that Berniemac's rise and fall might have been puppeteered by some unseen puppet masters. It's a wild claim. Apparently, Bernie's victories weren't because of genuine industry support, but rather a calculated scheme to milk his talents for every penny. Katt Williams didn't hold back, describing the sneaky manipulation that could have played a part in Berniemac's tragic end. And he also dished on how those Hollywood elites twist the narrative to suit their own agenda. But here's the thing, Katt's not the only celeb who's spoken out about how Hollywood took advantage of Bernie. Reginald Ballard chimed in during an interview, pointing out how the industry essentially worked Bernie to the bone despite his illness, possibly making things worse for him.
He was very passionate about his work. You know, I believe they probably worked him to death.
Bernie was diagnosed with sarcoidosis back in '83, and even though he was in remission, his health took a nosedive due to his condition and some meds he was on. Ballard's take is that if the industry hadn't pushed Bernie so hard, maybe he'd still be kicking it with his fans and family. They knew how much Bernie hustled, and they totally exploited it. I mean, Berniemac's journey to stardom began with his breakthrough performance on HBO's Def Comedy Jam in 1992, proving that dreams could come true even in one's 30s. His subsequent roles in mainstream films like the Ocean's series and Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, shattered stereotypes and expanded the scope of urban comedy. In 2001, Fox Network granted Berniemac his own sitcom, The Berniemac Show, where he portrayed a fictionalized version of himself. The show, which followed Bernie as he became the guardian of his sister's 3 children, captivated audiences and cemented its place as one of the most beloved TV shows of all time. Also, remember when Berniemac spilled the beans on why he never scored his own TV gig, despite craving one so bad? It's like they were trembling in their boots, afraid of what Bernie stood for. He was all about keeping it real, prioritizing family, and choosing happiness over a fat paycheck, a total breath of fresh air compared to the industry norm. If Bernie had caved and taken their offer, they would have diluted his essence until he was unrecognizable. So instead, they just slammed the door in his face. At the time, it might have sounded like Bernie was just clowning around, but in hindsight, it's crystal clear he was dead serious.
Come, everybody got their own TV show except you, man.
Cause they scared of me. You know, I mean, because certain players, my presence is just too strong, Chris. And you know, it's by choice because I really haven't found the right vehicle for me. I can't be watered down.
And then there's the whole saga between Bernie and Steve. According to reports, Harvey was determined to push Berniemac out of his path. It's messed up on multiple levels, particularly because they were supposed to be a duo of professionals pursuing shared success. But recent reports surrounding Harvey suggest he was solely focused on himself from the very beginning. Now, if you were around in the early 2000s, chances are you're familiar with the original Kings of Comedy show. But if you missed out on that era, whatever you think you know about Steve Harvey's journey is probably just scratching the surface. Harvey, alongside 3 other comedians, solidified their spots in the Comedy Hall of Fame with the original Kings of Comedy tour in the 2000s. Not only did the show smash box office records, it also laid the groundwork for the evolution of comedy shows as we know them today. The other 3 performers were D.L. Hewley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Berniemac, all of whom had different styles and also used material based on African-American life in America and black-white differences.
And so Steve was hot. We had the Steve Harvey show, so we had a national TV show. Berniemac was the it comedian at the time, and then DL was hot. He had a TV show.
Harvey, at the time though, was alleged to be the smoothest of the performers, but also the most aggressive toward the audience, picking targets in the front row for comments on their hair, clothes, and career prospects. Berniemac, on the other hand, had a different approach, something you could call the most hard-edged, and some of his material ventures away from comedy and into the wounds of real life. But here's where it gets interesting. It seems like Steve might have had a little case of jealousy towards Bernie's style, and that tiny seed of envy blossomed into a full-blown beef that lasted for years. At least that's what one of the crew members just spilled. Cedric, who was a part of the tour, confirmed that the 2 comedians did not see eye to eye. Yeah, they were both alpha males. They both just saw it different. But at the end of the day, they was able to get through it, he said while on Shannon Sharp's podcast Club Shay Shay. Cedric added that because of the feud, it had prevented them from doing another tour. I think that was definitely a contributing circumstance, but I also think that it had a lot to do with the promoter on the thing because he got a bigger head than all of us. The dude that put us all together started to really think was about him, so it started to be that. It was a lot of those kinds of elements.
You guys, is that one of the reasons why you didn't do? You did the first part, and then the second part.
I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributing circumstance.
In 2003, Mac had an interview with GQ magazine where he accused Harvey of being jealous of him and trying to sabotage him for certain movie roles. Steve would go on to address Mac's claims in a 2010 interview and revealed that he was hurt by Mac's words. Well, fans didn't think Steve was coming clean, and many of them didn't hide how they felt. One person wrote, "I never liked Steve Harvey. People always addressed how much of a raccoon he's always been, which is a fact, but he also had a superiority complex over other black comedians that he worked with, including Bernie and Cedric, too quiet as it's kept." Another individual who also has the same thoughts about Steve's true personality said, "Y'all ever heard of the boule? Steve down lol, you know he slime. The real reason they KO'd Bernie is on the net, well, a reason other than the official story. Gotta dig deep to find it, though. We'll never truly know, though. Long live Bernie, though. Others seem to believe Steve Harvey has always been a terrible person from the beginning, even to the people on his show. One of these people wrote, "I really don't think Steve is even that nice of a guy. He gives horrible advice. He's snippy with contestants and audience members, especially in early episodes. That's just kind of brushed off as humor. And he has an inflated sense of self." Also, Katt Williams had Bernie's back on this one, saying Steve was throwing shade at Bernie even when he was still around.
He came to me. I was supposed to be the fourth king. I got the offer.
Then what happened?
But I turned it down.
Why?
Because you shit on Bernie. And I know the truth. That man was funnier than all of y'all, and y'all thought y'all had one over on him. You thought he was black and ugly, and you were good looking, and he couldn't make it because you did. And that ain't the way comedy works.
Another topic that often surfaces is the timing of Bernie's passing, which many find rather suspicious. Just as he was shining a light on his dedication to rescuing the city's youth from the clutches of crime and violence, he was abruptly taken from us. Former Mayor Richard Daley shared Bernie's passionate efforts to effect change, to keep the spirit of Chicago alive, only for him to be cut short in the midst of his mission. Some whispers in the rumor mill even hint at a darker side of Hollywood, suggesting that Bernie's aspirations clashed with the industry's alleged inclination towards promoting violence and drugs. Critics argue that Hollywood's blockbuster films might be pushing the envelope too far, blurring the line between thrilling entertainment and endorsing violence. The glamorous depiction of chaos and conflict could be numbing audiences to the real-life consequences of brutality. Is Hollywood's fixation on high-energy carnage inadvertently normalizing violence? But the controversy doesn't end there. The scandal deepens with concerns about the copycat effect, a troubling phenomenon where on-screen violence inspires real-world imitation. Some insiders brush off the idea, insisting that movies serve as an escape, not a guide to criminal behavior. However, eerie parallels between cinematic violence and tragic incidents have sparked a heated debate that shows no signs of cooling down. Beneath the glitz and glamour of record-breaking box office figures lies a moral dilemma. Does Hollywood bear responsibility for the potential impact of its multi-million-dollar productions? According to some credible sources, the answer is yes. In fact, rapper Ice Cube recently shed light on Hollywood's alleged agenda to promote violence not only in movies but also in music. Delving into a complex network of connections, Ice Cube dropped hints about influential figures who, although unnamed, purportedly wield control over both music labels and private prisons. According to Cube, the songs released by these major labels are carefully curated to shape the mindset of listeners, subtly nudging them towards a path that ultimately benefits the prison industry.
The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
While he acknowledged that connecting all the dots would require further investigation, he firmly believed that this was just one example of how the powerful elite manipulate societal divisions for their own sinister ends. Beyond Berniemac's efforts to challenge industry norms, he eventually came to realize that in order to sustain his success, he would have to navigate certain expectations and boundaries set by the entertainment industry. His absence today might serve as evidence that he wasn't willing to compromise on certain principles.
Did you wait?
No.
It would be her. Abby, isn't Jeremy on the other side? Where am I? I'm going to show you. Ow!
As Mac delved deeper into the workings of Hollywood, he made a conscious decision to use his comedy as a platform to shed light on the experiences of a solitary black man in the entertainment capital. Tackling weighty issues like racism and the often derogatory portrayal of black individuals in the industry became central themes in his work. Initially, it appeared that Berniemac might have been alone in facing the darker aspects of the entertainment world. However, it now seems he was simply among the first to fully grasp the extent of the industry's challenges, as numerous other entertainers have since come forward with their own unsettling accounts. One such figure is Davechappelle, who famously walked away from a staggering $50 million deal in the 90s. Chappelle's own encounters with Hollywood's shadowy side paint a picture perhaps even bleaker than Mac's. During an interview with OPR Winfrey in 2006, Chappelle exposed the dismissive and toxic culture prevalent in Hollywood, where concerns raised about industry practices, particularly those involving men wearing dresses, were often disregarded or dismissed as signs of mental instability.
connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career.
The stigma surrounding black men wearing dresses in the African American community has deep roots, and Chappelle, like Mac, found such portrayals to be emasculating. Chappelle recounted an experience on a movie set where he faced persistent pressure from various figures, including writers and producers, to don feminine attire. Despite their insistence that all the greats did it at some point, Chappelle remained steadfast in his discomfort with the idea.
I'm doing a movie with Martin. Yeah. The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here. Nah, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with it? I mean, it's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it.
This experience left Chappelle self-described as a conspiracy theorist to a degree, feeling as though there was a deliberate agenda to coerce prominent African-American actors into cross-dressing roles. His questioning of why strong black comedians were consistently pushed into such roles raises important questions about the industry's motives and treatment of black talent. Chappelle's commentary on the industry's motives for pushing black men into cross-dressing roles sparked discussions about similar occurrences in other sectors of entertainment. Yet, Chappelle's criticisms of the industry extended beyond dress-wearing mandates. He also highlighted how the industry quickly labels anyone who doesn't conform to their standards as crazy, a situation he experienced firsthand. In 2005, Chappelle shocked fans and the entertainment world by abruptly leaving production of his highly successful show, Chappelle's Show, and traveling to South Africa. He cited dissatisfaction with the show's direction and the overwhelming stress of fame as reasons for his departure. This decision meant walking away from a lucrative $50 million contract with Comedy Central.
And then my wife's still a little salty at me.
She's not happy with you right now?
I mean, she's not mad at me, but don't think you're gonna walk away from $50 million and your wife's just gonna be cool with it.
Speculation at the time suggested Chappelle's exit was due to drug addiction or mental health issues, but he later revealed it was the expectations tied to the money that troubled him. He believed these expectations may have also contributed to other celebrities being unfairly labeled as crazy, such as Martin Lawrence and possibly Berniemac's untimely passing.
What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill.
Beyond Chappelle and Mac, there are other celebrities who have spoken out against the negative culture in Hollywood that targets black men. Katt Williams, for example, has also experienced the industry's harsh treatment and observed its attempts to emasculate black men. Williams took a different approach by calling out those he believed were perpetuating the trend of dressing men in women's clothing, including his fellow comedians. As seen in Chappelle's case, the pressure to conform to industry norms, such as wearing dresses, is often justified by pointing to the actions of past comedic greats. Williams even revealed that this pressure influenced his peer, Kevinhart. Reports indicate that the actor Kevinhart appeared in a dress for a Saturday Night Live skit a few years back. According to the news, during this skit, Hart portrayed 9-year-old Zane Wallace, who notably became the youngest nominee for the Best Actress Oscar for her role in Beast of the Southern Wild, and later assumed the role of the first African-American, female, and child pope. Some may question why Kevinhart is singled out for following a path that many other top comedians have taken. However, it's worth noting that in a previous interview years before donning the dress, Hart explicitly stated that wearing dresses was a boundary he was unwilling to cross under any circumstances.
Actually, one of those comedians that said, no, I wouldn't wear a dress. There's no way I would wear a dress.
The fact that Hart went against his own statement raises questions about what influenced his decision. Did he receive an offer too lucrative to refuse, or was he perhaps coerced or threatened? Katt Williams suggests the latter, speculating that similar pressures may have been at play in Berniemac's case.
Oh, the real Berniemac stories, and I know that the people that made money off Berniemac didn't like him. They hated his guts.
But, unlike others, Mac remained steadfast in his refusal to comply with industry demands. This refusal to be swayed by Hollywood's influential figures could have potentially put Mac's life at risk, or at least posed a significant threat. Untangling this complex web of influence and coercion will undoubtedly take time, but eventually the truth will come to light. That's it for today. Until next time, bye.